Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for listening to Memingless, where we look into memes and internet phenomena to try to understand what in the hell it all means. Today, I am joined by a special guest. Holly, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. I am Holly Conrad. I used to be a YouTuber, do a bunch of online stuff, used to play D&D on stage. Now I'm going to get my master's to get my clinical mental health counselor's degree. And I still do internet stuff sometimes because it's still fun for me. And I like birds.
The birds part, that's a very
Of
important
course,
part.
yeah. I
Yes.
used to have behind me a hierarchy of needs, and it just said food at the bottom and then birds at the top on my whiteboard. I left it in for a school presentation. It's gone now.
Oh, well, birds are important.
They are, yes.
They're not real though. I am so
I
sorry.
beg to I beg to differ. I have so many.
You're on the meme podcast. Of course I was going to say that.
I know. I
Uh,
know. I do love the birds aren't real though. It is funny, but please, they are very real.
and they have feelings and they're
Yeah.
adorable.
Yeah, they do.
So, for the listeners, today's format is going to be a little different than usual in a couple of ways. One, we are not starting with a meme as a springboard for the episode. And two, Holly and I have discussed at length what we are covering in today's episode, rather than me just springing some crazy shit on her, like I do to most my
Oh
guests.
my God.
Yeah, Duke, Sam, Dr. Hoda, not even Bobby had the privilege of knowing the subject beforehand. But in this case, I actually reached out to you, Holly, because you yourself have been through the brunt of what internet nonsense can become.
Yeah, it's true. And when you reached out to me too, I just thought the name was really clever. I was like, this is a good name.
I
This
was
is a good
surprised it
name for a
wasn't taken.
podcast.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, this is good. Yeah, and your episode's really solid. And we had a similar like interest in research and an interest in current events and an interest in internet culture. And I was just impressed by everything that you did. So I was like, yeah, this sounds like a cool opportunity to talk about something like deeply traumatic, but also something that I think again has a through line to a lot of the things that are happening today and a lot of the things that we've as a society have been dealing with no answers for like the past 10 years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and we'll talk briefly about that through line as well. Yeah, so today we're talking about cancel culture or public shaming, what it is, what effects it has on individuals and on society, what it does and does not accomplish. The reason we wanted to put this episode together is to perhaps encourage more measured and thoughtful reactions when controversies occur, and to help those who find themselves in a difficult situation with their own controversies to realize that there are reasonable minds out there who are capable of nuanced understanding of their situation. Um, Being a target of harassment, like of a harassment campaign or public shaming, can feel like the entire world is against you, but that usually comes from a very loud but very, very small minority. First, we need to define cancel culture. To put it briefly, cancel culture when it comes to social media is essentially the shaming of public figures with the intention of removing them from their social influence. Basically, quote, canceling their careers in social media. There are examples of cancel culture affecting other professions as well, but we will mostly be focusing on its effects in the social media influencer atmosphere. The first thing I would like to discuss is what impacts this has on individuals, starting with this sort of manufactured pariah effect. To define this effect, I would like to read a quote from inlightofscripture.com, which I did not expect to be reading from a Christian website for this episode, but I do like how succinctly they put this.
I love that you're reading. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, it's
listen, a good quote goes a long way. All right.
right.
It's all
Yeah, I
right.
mean,
We can give it a pass.
yeah. This is yes. They get one pass just for this here. Quote, one of the ways cancel culture misses the mark is that it is more motivated by disassociation rather than restoring or rehabilitating the wrongdoer. Individuals are often canceled or blacklisted because they become a liability, an untouchable, a pariah of society, which no one is willing to touch out of concern for their own careers or social standing. Now, the rest of that website is essentially nonsense, but they nailed that one and, broken clocks and all that. So
Yeah, and you got, you as an academic, you gotta cite your sources, even
That's
if it's even if it's from somewhere weird.
yeah, yeah, even if it's from inlightofscripture.org.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god.
Hell of a name, by the way. Uh,
Yeah.
this pariah effect was evident in Pro Jared's case during his breakup with his then wife Heidi. The lack of amicability in their separation became very public when Heidi responded negatively to his post about their divorce. Early in the controversies that would eventually surround both you and Jared, his friends took to Twitter to defend him, likely assuming that Jared would have the upper hand in this conflict. A good example of this is when Austin Hargrave, the content creator known as Peanut Butter Gamer, responded to Heidi with, "This ain't it, Chief." For listeners who are unfamiliar with that phrase, it's an expression of disapproval or skepticism. As it became apparent that social media users were siding with Heidi, suddenly even Jared's own friends were pushing him away, with Normal Boots, where Austin and Jared were both content contributors, essentially cutting ties with Jared. This is a blatant example of how drastically the behaviors of those associated with you can change with the social tides, especially when they base their careers on their popularity. If the tides are against you, few in the social media professional space will be willing to swim with you against the current. Essentially, you find yourself marred in controversy, and others will see you as toxic and will disassociate. Did you want to say anything to that?
Sorry, I was looking around because I heard a fart noise, and I was like I was like,
Go.
"What the fuck was that?" I was like, "Oh, my airbrush." I was airbrushing something earlier, and I just sort of meh. It was just my airbrush.
Had a little left in there.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think you'll hear it on the mic. No, so it's something that I've thought about a lot through all of this, and, obviously, I've kind of been a hermit for the past, God, 5, 6 years since it happened because it was incredibly awful and traumatic, and a lot of people in this situation did not tell the truth. A lot of people in that situation, got away with things and got away from the social pariahness because of not saying anything or not admitting to them being a part of it, if that makes sense.
Right.
But the situation at this point doesn't matter. It's the outcome of it, and everyone in that situation, myself included, were not healthy people at that time at all, and that's something that I think is is evident by what happened. It's like you can see someone making this public, in the case of Heidi, making it public. It's like that should be peop a private matter of people talking to each
Right.
other and,
Yeah.
in therapy, and it's like and his friends had seen that his relationship wasn't healthy, and I had seen that, and people were worried about him, but it's like, now looking back on it now, it's been so long, I was trying to help someone who was a grown adult and who had the complete ability to take care of themselves in that situation, and because everyone in the situation was unhealthy, then it becomes maladaptive, it becomes bad, it becomes toxic, and I think the spillover onto the internet was sort of like I'm trying to think of the word, like a symptom of that.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to a lot of these internet things, there is a kernel of truth in all of these cancellations. There's a kernel of truth of the person messed up. The
Right.
person deeply messed up in a lot of ways now can be in ways that is messing up in trusting someone too much, in giving yourself away too much to another person to help them. Any of that is a behavior that can possibly cause harm to yourself and to
Right.
others.
Yeah.
So I think um there's a lot about it where there is truth, but then it's the catalyst of the internet becoming that tribunal, and that's where really the problem is. Instead of looking at it objectively, it becomes a algorithmically charged catalyst
Right.
where outrage and pain become the thing that people wanna see. And, I constantly think about this, and I've read so many of the comments. I shouldn't have, I know everyone I
Right.
know I
Yeah.
shouldn't have. But you know what? Uh it's funny because now I'm working on becoming a therapist, and there's a legend called a sin eater. I'm kind of a sin eater. I like looking at things that might not be cheerful. It's like I and that's one of the things that, like, I know is going to be probably part of my therapy practice is, like, I am not afraid to hear bad things.
Right.
I want to understand them, and I want to, analyze why something is the way it is, and the legend of the sin eater is someone who would go to houses and offer to eat dinner with someone to absorb their sins. So they would sit there, they would put their sins on them and they would eat a meal, and that would be them absorbing their sins and leaving. And, I don't know, I just really love that. It's also really metal,
It is,
um,
yeah.
right? So even though I did look at a lot of it when everyone's like, "Don't look at the comments," like, I did a bit of sin eating, and I think that it's fascinating because so many of the people that left the cruelest comments and the cruelest like, there was one artist, I think who actually was convicted of, like, child abuse. I don't know, we can, like, look it up. I'm not sure it's, I forget their name, but they did one picture. Oh my god, why can't I think of their name? They did a picture that was just, like, so vile and so sexist and so gross, and everyone was sharing it, and, yeah, they ended up just disappearing off the internet, this person.
Yeah.
And everyone was sharing this person's work, "Ha ha, like, look at these ugly people," and it was like, "Did you even realize that the person who made this, it's so ugly because they were ugly inside."
Right.
They were feeding off of this pain on the internet because they were so in pain, and I think that's why we see a lot of this. I don't know. Does that make sense? I'm just, like,
Yeah,
going
no,
off.
no, no, that's great. I'm really glad that you said that, and the sin eater thing is fascinating, I love that.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I was like I read it on the therapy Reddit comment. I was like,
Yeah.
"That's so badass." Yeah.
That's really dope. It's kinda like, what it's kinda like what I do with the podcast. Like, if I find that the most disgusting rabbit hole I can go down, I'm like, "Just put it in my veins. I need it."
Yeah.
I can't get enough of reading, I mean, I hate it, but
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
also so fascinated at the same time.
Well, I
But
think researchers and anyone who's interested in sociology or even mental health, like psychology, or you have to kind of be a sin eater.
right, yeah, yeah. If you're going to learn without, inhibition, you kinda have to eat some of the sin.
Mhm.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And I think that approaching things with that kind of attitude also, makes you more effective in, preventing future problems, socially,
Mhm.
because you understand it better. And
Yeah.
I could go
And,
on because we read a study on, in college on, uh, certain vile people and, um, studying them, and everybody was like and the class was very upset that these people weren't just being, entrapped by the study, and it's like, it's like, you do understand you're not gonna learn anything if you do that, and plus, in the future, you'll never be able to do this study again because you made it a trap. Like,
right.
but anyway, that I could go on forever on that. That'll be a whole other episode,
Yeah.
I'm sure, in the future, but, it is true though that when public figures get, ostracized, or publicly shamed, like this, it can be tempting to see it as some kind of justice, but in many cases, the moral or just nature of public shaming is on shaky ground. Um, on On his site, creatingcommonground.org, professor of psychology Michael F. Muscullo writes that cancel culture is based on this idea that what we say and do is a reflection of some essential nature of who we are. Accordingly, if I behave in a way that seems immoral or offensive, then I have a bad essential character. That it assumes that behavior is just simply who you are. Um, so,
Yeah,
so
that's the age old, you can anyone can do a bad action. Anyone
yeah,
can do something bad, but you are not intrinsically bad.
right.
You are not bad. And that's a difficult thing for anyone looking in on any sort of situation where someone has done something bad. because they'd have to accept that if they did something bad, that they were also still good. You
Yeah.
could make a mistake and still have your worth not be questioned.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like if you've ever told a lie, then you're a liar,
Right.
like and that would make us all liars, because
Right.
I don't think I've ever met anybody I do have a friend who's never said a swear word in her entire life. And I think that's fascinating. But,
Yeah, that's whew.
yeah.
Yeah, if we're counting swears on myself.
No, she said she says she has sinned in other ways, but she's never said a swear. And
Okay.
I just thought that was so fucking fascinating.
Safe.
Um,
Safe on swears. Yep.
that one she's got down.
Couple
Um,
murders under the belt, but we got the swears taken care of.
right. Yeah. So like we kind of talked about it a little bit that where the thought process of you know you are what you've done. It's flawed uh, because people are more complicated than to just have an essential moral character. This quote from Muscullo. He says, while we all should strive to act with reference to moral values, none of us has an essential moral character. We never live up to the ideals we set for ourselves. We make mistakes. We are always evolving. And uh, that's so true and well put. And I think you said something about when we were discussing this episode um, and how to go forward with it. You were talking about how people see public figures as characters rather than human. They see them in like a two-dimensional way. Did you want to talk about that a little bit or?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole, like, the parasocial relationship thing, and it's really like, funny and sad in my case because there are people that do put on a character. There are people that are pretending, but, like, I'm way too autistic for that.
Yeah.
Like, I over-explain myself, and, like, again, I was in such crisis at the time that this happened that, like, I was saying things that were just, like, so like, intimate and should have been things I was telling my therapist to the internet.
Mhm.
And, like, it's interesting to me because I think one of the things as, neurodivergent person is that you over-explain things,
Mhm.
and to the internet, that's a sign of lying.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it's like and I didn't even understand that until all this happened, and, like, they're like, "You pretended to be nice, you pretended to be kind, you pretended to love birds." I'm like, What?" Like, what? I know I had people come in there and be like, "You don't deserve to have your birds, like, you need to have your birds taken away from you," and I was like,
That is the most
"What
bizarre
part
thing.
what part?" I mean, other than trust me, I used to have them all saved, but I was like, "I can't save these. This is all gone, all of this is gone." So I wouldn't have to look at these things anymore because they were just so mean, and, what do my birds have to do with it? Like,
Right.
what is my
Yeah. No.
ability to be a good bird? Like, okay, let's say, like, yes, I cheated, I was a hooer, I was a home wrecker. Let's say, like, I wrecked a home,
Right.
and what part of that means that, like, I'm not a valuable human being or deserve to have birds or deserve to continue my career? Like, it's
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a society right now where the president is a literal felon and sex offender,
Right.
and here was me in 2019 just trying to live my life, and again, like, I don't want and we talked about this too, I don't wanna go into, like, all the stuff that happened. I could just be like, "This didn't happen, blah, blah." That actually doesn't matter. What matters is that people do not deserve to be treated like this when it is something especially women when it is
Yeah.
something that involves a private matter and the fact that the men in this situation are fine.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
fine, and I lost everything, and it's like, that's what part of that is okay? I mean, right now, we live in a world where, like, sexism and all that is so rampant, and it's like, I don't know, ugh. It's
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
yeah.
It's and that is one thing that is very frustrating about how
The Jezebel, the hooer. That's
yeah,
what
but
I said.
then every dude gets to move forward, and that
Yeah,
is infuriating. And
and do the
where
exact same things. It's like, "Oh, you learn nothing. Alright, get Godspeed, I guess." Like,
Yeah, and
it's
one thing you mentioned was that how you would over-explain things, and then people would interpret that as being a lie, and I think that, so as a neurodivergent person, you're not going to explain things exactly the same way another person would,
No,
and
I never have,
yeah,
ever.
and
It's never been something I can do right, especially in emotionally charged situations, because I have a fawn response, I panic, and I've seen this firsthand with with people I know after all this happened, and I watched it happen in a different situation. I was like, "Oh my god. This is exactly how I have behaved in situations like this, where I'm cornered and panicked and having this, more or less, meltdown of misunderstanding and panic and feeling less than, and it's incredibly hard to push through unless you have the tools, and, then I did not have the tools.
yeah, yeah, and that's that I think that anybody caught up in a situation like that who wasn't planning for it would be ill prepared for something
Oh,
like that.
absolutely.
And the idea though that people were interpreting the over explaining as you lying, that's another aspect of people treating online figures as these two-dimensional characters because they try to take these blanket standards and apply it to everyone. They try to think like, well, that person is not saying things the way I would if I were being candid, so they must be lying.
Right.
And I think that it's like with the Charlie Kirk assassin. People are, I've got my own thoughts about the text
Oh my
messages, but
god.
one of the
Yeah.
things that frustrates me is when people say, "Oh, this is not how a 22-year-old talks." It's like, okay, first off, not all 22-year-olds are the same, and secondly, most 22-year-olds don't go and shoot someone. So
Right.
this is a different individual. He assassinated somebody. I think, trying to say he talks different you're grasping at straws there. But
Yeah.
I do have my own thoughts about those
Oh,
texts. So
that's a whole
that's
rabbit hole.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Let's not even get started
yum,
on that.
yum.
But
Yum, yum,
it's
sin
it's
eating. Yum,
it's
yum, yum. Just
it's
kidding.
kind of that same the horse blinders kind of thing where it's like no, you need to kind of broaden your perspective a little bit and understand that
Well,
there are going to be people who are different and will respond differently to situations than you will.
yes. No,
And it's hard for
absolutely,
people to
and it might not be the healthiest way. It might not be they might not be in a good place,
right.
and that is a human thing to be in. It is human to be not in a good place.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
happens to many
absolutely.
of us. It's just that many of us didn't never had a large internet following. Bless them. Just
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, and
uh,
there's when it comes to, this public shaming, there are studies in psychoneurology that have suggested that there's an evolutionary reason for our tendency toward public shaming, and they've even shown brain activity that occurs when shame and punishment are doled out. There's something kinda satisfying or even elating, about getting to publicly shame someone for a perceived wrongdoing. I believe, however, that intellectually most people understand that human beings are complicated and make mistakes. People move on from those mistakes and hopefully take measures not to repeat them. So like
that's not what gets shared though,
right,
because
yes.
if you're commenting on something like this person kicked a puppy, like terrible example because that you
Yeah,
know
no, unforgivable. That one's unforgivable.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
different
that was
example.
unforgivable.
Different.
Cancel them forever.
Yeah, no,
That
like
one's actually really bad.
I actually
But
have an example here. So like somebody so a listener can imagine that they've committed an act of infidelity and it's with an acquaintance of mine that I think is a nice person. At first I can bring it to your attention that I'm unhappy with you and I may do this in a confrontational way. Now I have to imagine that at first, while the shame is still fresh, you accept that I and other people like me will likely consider your transgression to be a reflection of your character. So you accept the fact that because you committed an act that most people would consider to be immoral, you would without a doubt have to endure some humiliation. Now, Imagine after this experience, you never commit the act again because you've learned a hell of a lesson. However, I continue to bring up your wrongdoing even after you've expressed remorse for what you've done. And 6 years later, I continue to bring it up unprovoked, and I lash out at you randomly because of the immoral act you committed more than half a decade ago that had nothing to do with me. You would, without a doubt, consider me to be rather unhinged. Why is it that we understand how unreasonable that is when it comes to the people we know, but we cannot extend that understanding to public figures?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably a power dynamic, it's a privilege dynamic, and new media didn't really show people that there was not a privilege or a power dynamic with a neurodivergent woman on the internet. A man, yes. A white man, yes. But the power dynamic was not, in my case, was not there. But, in a lot of other people's cases, it is. And that's why nothing happens to them. And I think, like, people still, that example is real. People still to this day comment. That's why, I can't do YouTube. I don't want to look at it because I still get comments saying terrible things to me to this day in the year of our Lord, 2025.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you? I do not spend my free time going into random people I have never met YouTube comments telling them that they're glad that I'm failing as a human being, or they're glad that no one watches my videos, or they're glad I had one person the other day, and this is for real. This is a real comment. Say how I think it was something like she looks so I think I'm just paraphrasing here. She looks so unhinged. This is what happens when you give in to sin and debauchery. This was a real comment. This was a real comment I got less than 3 weeks ago
I,
in the year of our Lord 2025. And I'm like, sin and debauchery?
I picture them
I
throwing holy water at their computer screen as
like, but it's unreal. And I'm like, I, and I like, I just hang out with my chickens and I'm going to school and I work at a coffee shop. I'm like, I don't know what you want. I do not have an internet presence. I make art. And you know what? That's great. I like my art. Maybe I'll do mental health stuff one day. But it's also, this is another thing, is it's so strange how much weight people put into this following, into this arbitrary, unreal, internet fame where I'm like, no one outside of the gaming sphere knew who I was.
yeah.
No, and I didn't expect them to. I never cared about that. It's like this the internet has created this bizarre, fame bubble where people assume that because you have a big following, you are famous, and that is absolutely not true. You just have a bunch of people on the internet that follow you. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Johnny Depp is famous. These people have money and security and all of this stuff, and, when I was canceled, I was, terrified. I had people sending things to my PO box. I had people, yelling at me on the street because, I had more exposure during that than I ever did in my whole career.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
now, and now I'm just there.
it's frustrating. It's frustrating that this anger is what gets people uh riled up or drawn toward content or drawn toward something or anything, and people coming out and be like, I don't know who either of these two people are, but fuck them. It's like, what in the hell? Why? Where did you even come from? And
Yeah,
it's so this never ending cycle of vitriol following a transgression. It doesn't teach anybody any lessons because there's no path to redemption. There's no reason to improve. And so because of behaving like this, we create an environment where the only way for a transgressor to move forward is to shed any shame and use the absence of a path to redemption as an excuse to act in abhorrent ways in the future. If there's
that's
no,
literally it.
yeah, if there's no path to forgiveness, then why change at all?
That's
And
and that's what happens.
yeah,
That's exactly what happens. That's why we have the political atmosphere we do right now. That's why we have the president posting memes of jets shitting on people.
right.
And that's why all of almost I mean, I don't research that much into where people are now, but in my case, it's there the it just continues status quo for the men. Like,
Right.
it doesn't
Yeah.
stop, you know? And I feel like I feel terrible about what happened to Heidi because she didn't deserve any of that either. I know that, like, she said a lot of, like, really unkind things, and to be real, like, she was just suffering. The same reason, like, I was suffering. It was a whole group of people suffering,
Mhm.
and no one deserved to have the internet make it worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, everyone needed to go and get help separately and get therapy and take care of themselves and not make it worse through the internet, and,
Yeah.
like it was terrible that what happened, but, like, I don't wish ill on anyone. I really don't. I really don't. Like, I wish that they would get better and, like, go, help get therapy and take care of themselves and maybe consider their actions in the future, but I
Right.
don't
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen, and I'm not responsible for it, and that's because I've had growth.
Yeah, there you go.
I just gave a thumbs up. I don't know if you saw that,
I
but I just
yeah, if I do post video, the video watchers will be able to see that, but
yeah, I did a yeah,
yeah.
I put a thumbs up, but, like, I think but that's the part of being human. You make mistakes and you have growth, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm, like, so thankful that I had the career that I did. I loved it. I loved playing D&D more than anything because I'd played it since high school, and does it still hurt my heart that I can't and on stage or do it anymore? Absolutely, it does. But at the same time, like, that doesn't take away my value as a human being. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, Dungeons& and Dragons is just capitalism again. So,
Right.
like, surround yourself with people that care about you genuinely and make you feel safe and give you a warm home and support you and have friends who are, who if you make a mistake, they're going to be there for you. Because that's another like when this all happened, my friend from high school who I was isolated from because the group of people in Los Angeles that I was involved with had isolated me from my friends from high school. They had told me that they were abusing me and had kept me away from them, which by the way is cult behavior. Um, my friend when that happened, came and made sure I was okay and got me and took me to the hospital. And this was my friend from high school who lives in up here in Seattle. And so, like, when something like that happens, you really find out who your friends are and who is there to support you as a human with flaws and with all the messy parts that come with being human.
Yeah. That's
No,
and
and really quick, I do not believe Taylor Swift has experienced that. I do not. Her dumb song is dumb. I'm like, "You're a billionaire, stop it." I just wanted to say, I think public shaming is a lot more accurate than cancel culture because, like, someone since she's like, "Hey, girl boss," I'm like, "Stop, I will run into traffic." Like, sorry, I had to go on a rant about that. I'm sorry if there's any Swifties in this, I'm so sorry, but, like, I mean, I'm sure that being famous is traumatic. I believe that. I'm sure it is. I mean, I know I had scotch, a tiny bit of fame, and it was awful.
yeah.
But, like, I truly I believe that, but I'm also like, "Girl, like, you can afford really good therapy." I think like, I didn't have any money. I'm like, "You can." I'm like, "You stop flying your jet." Anyway.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, ground that jet, and
Yeah, no.
then we can talk.
Get on the
Uh,
bus.
yes. Yeah, that's right, take public transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Jesus.
That was an
No,
aside, but I just had to
I love it, though. That's great.
that song made me so mad. I was like, "What is this?" Like, this is and, like, then I think back to, again, when this all happened to me, that was kind of my response was like, "Haha, this is like, oh, let's try and be funny and make" and everyone was so mad I made a T-shirt that said "cancel," and everyone was like, "You're taking our money." I was like, "I did not. I made, like, $500, like, thank you." Like, I think I bought pigeon food with it. I don't know. Should I have done that? Absolutely not, because it hurt people realizing that there are actual people who have are under this umbrella of cancellations who genuinely hurt people in
Yeah.
real ways. And I think again, that's the nuance is that, at the time I just didn't understand and I thought, "Oh, I'll just make some art about it." And art sometimes is not the best choice.
Yeah. Yeah, and the talking about, like, the people who who do hurt people, but punishing people permanently, essentially, like you've basically the only ones who end up getting hurt are the ones who have any kind of shame or any kind of empathy. And by eliminating those people from their social influence permanently, we're clearing a playing field for anyone. We're clearing the playing field of anyone with true morals so that anybody without those morals, so that they can thrive, because suddenly the playing field's clear for all the monsters, and if you've asked yourself recently how we ended up with such a toxic culture when it comes to online creators, it's partially our own fault. I mean,
1,000%. It
yeah,
is 1,000% our fault.
yeah, and it's
I
not for
mean,
it's not for holding people to account, but rather than it's more because of destroying those who actually have any sense of morals or humility or shame. Like
yes.
we've created an environment that is perfect for the cruel and the shameless. And
And the algorithm loves it. That's what it wants.
yeah,
That's what gets shared. And it's like anyone with humility or any kind of empathy is going to see comments that are terrible. We all see anyone who exists on the internet is going to see terrible comments. And those are going to chase kind people away
yeah,
because you're putting these comments out like people are putting these comments out there with no remorse. And then it's real. That trauma is real. What trauma happens on the internet is real.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, it can feel good to like ostracize people we see as transgressors, but like I said, it only works on people who have a conscience, and it can only create a good environment if we're willing to forgive and move forward. And that's one thing about forgiveness is that people need to remember it's not a get out of jail free card. It's simply accepting the fact that the past can't change. In the past, we shamed people who fucked up with the ostensible purpose of creating a better environment. But by taking things too far, we've had the opposite effect. The shameless now have control of the narrative and are influencing young people and other creators to act in reprehensible ways and to be proud of it. I mean, we didn't create,
Absolutely.
like we didn't create monsters like Andrew Tate, but we did. And we also didn't create perverts who use their influence to fuck their fans and things like that. But our actions did give rise to a movement in our culture where people like this can thrive as creators.
Because
Uh,
even if they're shamed, even if they're shamed, if they have no humility, they will go right back to behaving that way
Yeah. Right.
because it doesn't affect them.
Yeah.
And the someone who realizes that they've messed up can have growth, but the continued shaming and continued harassment is enough for anyone will leave. No one wants to stay somewhere where people
Yeah.
are treating them less than human.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of times it incentivizes somebody to become shameless, unfortunately. Like, you can have somebody who may have had that ability to self-reflect, may have had that ability, but then realized that there's no path forward, by being self-critical. Instead, they had just shed any sense of shame or morals and, become another monster on the internet.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's
And
yeah,
I think in
it's
order to fight against this kind of thing, we need to value influencers who show a desire to do good, even when we learn of their flaws. To imagine that a creator you like has never made a mistake is unrealistic. But when we hold people to account, it should be fine. It should be to find a capacity in them to learn from their mistakes, and rather than to not have ever made any. Um, Basically, so shame ultimately I'm getting back to the script now 'cause I'm kinda
no,
stumbling over myself a little bit here,
no,
but,
you're doing great. Yeah.
yeah, no, shame ultimately reflects an ability to be critical of oneself. Accordingly, it is not difficult to imagine that those who are affected by public shaming are those with the capacity of self-criticality. They are the ones who are capable of growth and change. However, cancel culture does not often encourage or even allow for the self-reflection that leads to personal change. Furthermore, this nature of cancel culture stems from an idea that right and wrong are binary, with almost no room for nuance. Binary standards do not apply in real life, especially when it comes to personal relationships. People are complicated, and therefore relationships are very complicated and very diverse. I thought you'd chime in there, but
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
No,
No, I mean, it's like what I said before, and it's like the internet is not a place for any sort of any sort of nuanced relationship discussion. It is just not a place for that, and I think, in a lot of cases, it's like, I do feel like that as an elder millennial, like, I grew up sharing on the internet my personal life, like Facebook, MySpace, like Xanga, like sharing personal life was normal for us because it was just our friends. We didn't have an algorithm. It was just the people we knew in real life, and that is how we communicated with them through a straight up feed of people we knew. And as that increased, we at least me personally, I didn't learn safety of what to share and what not to share. So people had just a complete window into my entire life, my relationship, my animals, I mean, like everything. And that opens up so much for judgment. Just like anyone, if anyone looks on someone else's life, it's like Mo in The Simpsons. Was it Mo who the house who fell over? It's like, please don't tell anyone how I live.
no, I thought
Was
was that
Larry?
it was Lenny.
Oh, Lenny,
Yeah,
Lenny, that's right.
Lenny.
Lenny, yeah,
Yeah.
please don't say how I live. Like, because his house fell apart, and that's, like, literally, like, what it is. It's like, we are all just human beings doing our best, and that sort of scrutiny and just, like, living your life openly is unhealthy. It's
Yeah.
unhealthy, and it's not good for anyone because then it's like people comparing themselves to Instagrammers that are looking perfect every day. It's like these people are not perfect. None of these people are perfect.
Yeah.
We are literal like we are just like we're walking around meat suits doing our best, you know? Like,
Yeah, doing our best not to fuck up,
right.
and to not puncture the meat suits.
Right. And I can tell you that it's like I'm going to school right now for becoming a therapist, and I am sure there will be people that have made mistakes coming into my therapy office, and I am not going to it's like, imagine a friend or even a friend telling you, "Oh, I made this mistake." Are you gonna be like, and dunk on them with a
Mm,
meme?
yeah,
Like,
seriously, it's unbelievable, like, the way that
and
we
it's
and, like, like you had said about people treating online influencers as characters, it's like, they treat them as if they don't have feelings, as if they aren't more complicated, you know?
yeah. But then it's like, and I have so many I don't know, I've researched this a lot, but I it's like, but do I share the JD Vance memes of his dumb baby face? Like, absolutely, I do.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and
it's like, so am I one to complain about someone sharing a meme of me that when I was at the lowest, most terrible point of my life? I don't know,
well,
because at some point,
J
people just need a laugh.
JD Vance, who, some might know that I when I shared my, episode on him that we did recently, I was very unkind to him, and
Sorry.
he deserves it though. So, and also that's punching up. He's the VP, so
Yeah.
I'd have no empathy for him.
I guess
Plus
that
he's enabling a dictator,
yeah,
and
I guess that's
this
it.
and the shame, he's continuing to act bad.
Yeah.
The shame, if he wants it to stop, he can get better. He can be a better person.
Yeah, I
But
think that's really the question you need to ask yourself when you're dunking on people on the internet. It is not going to stop. We are not going to stop dunking on people on the internet for a little chuckle. It's not going to stop.
yeah,
But you really need to think about if you're punching up.
right,
Like, you
yes,
really need to think about if you're punching up. Like, if like a person, like if it's someone online who is a creator who doesn't have that many followers, is some sort of, marginalized identity. I'm not talking about myself. I'm just saying, like, in general, like, maybe don't dunk immediately. Maybe think about like, hey, maybe this person is hurting, and maybe I shouldn't take advantage of the fact that this person is hurting or messed up.
yeah, yeah. It's and don't judge a person or assume you know who they are based on the worst moments of their lives. Like, because like if you're at your lowest point, like, imagine I mean anybody can imagine one of their lowest points in their lives, and having that be everyone's perception of them, just that's just who you are to other people. it wouldn't be fair, you
Well,
know?
yeah,
None of us would see that as fair.
when all this happened, I would walk into, like, a grocery store or something, if someone recognized me, I just burst into tears because I was terrified. I
Yeah.
was terrified for years. Like, I don't think I really started to feel normal until, like, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe? Like, I was terrified because if someone recognized me, immediately it was going to be like, "Oh, you're disgusting, you're bad, like, I can't believe this, blah, blah, blah." Who even knows? They could have said anything.
Mhm.
And, yeah, it was really hard, it's still hard, but it's like, you know, I'm not in a war zone. So,
You're
like, it's
right.
like
Right.
comparatively though I still say we should never compare ourselves to other plights, but, like,
Yeah, and
other
also that
but
that
it's
that thought this process too is that's what aboutism, you know?
no,
Like,
exactly. It's like
it doesn't mean that what you went through or what you're going through is any less valid, just because there are worse things, you know?
no,
That's
no.
a silly way to look at the world.
My therapist has told me that too.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
It's like
See
so
see, there you
also,
go.
therapists are all in therapy, so, like, I'm only in my 1st year, so give me a break. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But no, like, that's for sure true. I just think, like, it's yeah, it's hard, and it's like your whole safety in your personhood is completely destroyed. Like, I had to completely understand who I was again as a person,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was also hard. Like, yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, and there were, of course, there's going to be some listeners who think something like, well, nobody cares about an event that happened that long ago. Only you were bringing it up. Like, first off, definitely not true. Um, and there are those who will continue to bring up past transgressions anytime a creator puts out content for others to see, either for the purpose of trolling or because they sincerely want the target of their ire to never succeed or live down their past mistakes. But not caring is also kind of part of the issue. The fleeting interest in a public figure's downfall is part of why public shaming maintains such permanent results. This works on multiple levels. Those who with the those with the capacity to let things go have moved on, allowing those without that capacity to control the narrative. Any new audience, previously shamed creator may curate is almost immediately met with the creator's past drama. With those, without those supporting the influencer's rehabilitation, the effects of the previous shaming get to live on. For example, the first comments a new audience will likely see is something like, "Hey, aren't you that guy who accidentally showed porn on a live stream? Lol." Fresh audiences are already affected by the influencer's past. And since both the creator and their past situation is new to the new viewers, there will be a tendency to equate the creator with that mistake all over again. Being aware of the fleeting interest also leads to a rush to bestow shame before understanding the situation. Drama channels, for example, find themselves in a hurry to get their content out before things cool down and before everyone has had time to carefully think about how to approach the controversy. So this belief that quickly nobody cares ultimately becomes part of the problem. A better approach is to find interest not exclusively in the call out, but also in the redemption of those who find themselves marred in controversy. The attention paid to the creator's recovery could inspire others to do better rather than seeing shamelessness as their best option.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and also they're making money. They're making money off of people's pain. Like,
Yes, yes.
it's like the age of those they're still there. The drama YouTubers, they're literally making money off of people's pain.
Mm.
Like, it's so evil. Like, it is so vile.
It's so gross, and, like, you have to be lacking empathy in order to think that that livelihood is okay. I mean,
No, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, and I I don't know. Capitalism is ruining us all, but it's like you
right.
could
Yeah, it has
yeah,
been for a
it's
long time. It's
yeah, it's exactly, but it's like, yeah, it's a vile thing, and it's like the old tabloids, who used to chase the celebrities around and then put out it's like the Inquirer, you know?
yeah,
It's like but like in a worse way where it's even more sensationalized, because if they act like, can you believe, and like do a thumbnail where they're doing like a whoa and
Right.
and an emoji of an exploding head, and it's like porn, and it's like,
Right. Yeah.
and then and then the inside is like just reading tweets. It's like they're sensationalizing it and making and just spreading false information,
One
which again is wacky because that's how we ended up here politically.
Right. Yeah, it's had a real effect on our society and in more ways than one. So like, for example, bystanders observing others being canceled are encouraged to recede into groups of peers that share their views, limiting their exposure to diverse thoughts. So we get these people backing into these, you can't have a conversation with anybody who's not one of yours. You know what I mean? So like we end up, I don't know, by being hypercritical of everyone we encounter, it discourages conversation is I guess what I'm trying to
Absolutely.
say.
Well, I mean, that's why we are where we are. If we try to talk to anyone about politics, I've tried to have discussions with people on the internet and be like, hey, like, and the most basic thing, like, hey, abortions are illegal in some states and women are dying. Actual facts.
Mhm.
Facts you can Google,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
basic facts, and they will tell me that that is not happening. And I'm like, that's a what? Like, I because without the media literacy of understanding that people on the internet can just lie to you,
Yeah, right, and that's and,
they
another thing too is in terms of that just lying or making things up or sensationalizing things or, putting out completely absurd information or even if say if one of these drama channels puts out like a video and they're actually honest about whatever it is, but then their clickbait title is such and such is even worse than you think, and
yeah,
that's
eats puppies.
right,
Like,
yeah, and what but there was a question mark on there that wasn't a claim, we were just asking, just asking, do they eat
yeah.
puppies? I don't know. Like,
Oh,
can you
oh,
prove
oh.
that you don't eat puppies? It's
Yeah, and
it
then you go into YouTube and it's like, "Learn how to make catchy thumbnails," and it's like that same, like, sensationalist title,
yeah, it's
like
learn how to making catchy thumbnails worse than you think.
yeah, so easy, head
Yeah.
explode, like, I one time, and I think I've told this story before, is when I used to do Let's Plays, one time that 1,000-degree knife thing was going around, do you
Mhm.
remember that?
Yeah.
It was like, "1,000-degree knife, cuts whatever," and I put it on one thumbnail. It was a Pokemon playthrough, and it was, like, 20 videos in, and I was like the views were dropping, and I was like, "They do in series," and I was
Mhm.
like, "I'm just gonna try it. I'm just gonna put, no context, a picture of a 1,000-degree knife
Mhm.
on the thumbnail, just the regular just the knife, hot knife."
Yeah.
It got, like it got, like, over 20,000 more views because there was a picture of a 1,000-degree knife on it.
So there was a bump, like, in the series
Yes.
because
Yes.
just because there's a 1,000-degree knife
Yes,
in the
because there
image.
was a knife on it,
I
and
wonder
it
I wonder if there was if there like I know that people are probably habitually clicking the things with that knife on it because they just keep wanting to watch
I
it
don't
cut through shit.
I don't
And
know if it's the people
and
or
it
if it's the algorithm.
can we also all like point out the fact that there's no fucking way that knife was 1,000 degrees.
No,
Like,
no, it's not.
that's so irritating. Like, it's not even 1,000 degrees. Sometimes like
No,
some of the titles were like 10,000-degree knife. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
no, it
Stop it.
wasn't.
It's a hot
No,
knife is
but
what it
yeah,
is.
but it also doesn't matter because facts don't matter. None of
No,
that actually
no.
matters. It's like, "Well, there's a knife," like,
Yeah. The point of this episode is fuck that knife. That's
but yeah, yeah, yeah.
that fucking knife.
It's
God.
bad. It's bad,
Yeah.
you know? And I think, again, like, I've thought about all of this stuff so much, like, to the point where, like, I feel like my brain just melted out of my head. Because I wanna have empathy for everyone, and I wanna have empathy for the people that are commenting these things. I wanna say, like, "Why are they doing this? Why?" It's like, "Why are people on lolcow? Why are people doing this?"
Yeah.
And it's like, it's because they're truly, truly unhappy, and they're finding ways to get dopamine, and you can get dopamine from these from scrolling, from anger,
Mhm.
from disappointment like that, it can give you dopamine. Now, you can be normal like us and read articles about terrible people in the past or
Yes, yeah, perfectly normal thing to
yeah,
do.
yeah. But I think a lot of people now are being fed things in the algorithm if they're unhappy. They're looking at unhappy things, they're unhappy, it continues to make them depressed, the depression then they learn one of their favorite creators did something bad. Well, oh my god, this is the only person that sees me. Their anger translate into a comment, into, sharing because it's that compounding of negative feelings, and then they assume like, "Oh, well, if they did this one bad thing, they must be bad."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's because they feel that about themselves. It's like they can't they a lot of people, I think, who are so negative on the internet haven't looked at themselves and said, "I made a mistake and that's okay," or "I did this and that's okay," or "I don't have the perfect job and that's okay. I'm still good." Because that's the poison that capitalism has fed us.
yeah, yeah, and it's so hard
And
to
patriarchy and sexism. I mean, and racism. It's like that we have been fed these things by society, and this is why the internet and why the internet culture has turned into what it is.
yeah, yeah, and that is so well put. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up another part of the script, but I'm on a new PC that doesn't have Word on it, and
Oh, no, that's the worst.
it's
That's the
being a
worst.
big jerk. I'm gonna have to read it in Notepad and just ignore all the commands that
Oh
are
my
in
god,
there.
okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
But it does bring me to a part that I didn't put in the main script that I did still wanna talk about. I sent myself the file, from another PC, and it's a mess. But, let's see. I will edit out all this nonsense. Um You know what? I know what I wanted to say. It may not be as eloquent as I wrote it, but it's fine. But like, the fact that sometimes publicly shaming somebody else comes from shame from your own mistakes or your own past or feeling like you can't outrun your embarrassments. That becomes an incentive to shame somebody else, to feel better about yourself. And that I hate that because then we have this environment online where we don't get to see people's redemption. We don't get to see people change. And I love seeing people change. I love seeing people grow. And because it reminds me and it reminds me that I can learn from my mistakes, that I don't need to be embarrassed forever about my past because I can approach it in a healthy way and I can learn from things, you know? And, I think that the absence of that on the internet is bad for everybody's mental health. It's bad for, everybody's interactions online. And, um, when we attack people for even suggesting that somebody is uh, worthy of redemption, or has changed, or it's like, oh, and then there's the whole, when somebody does grow, the first response is, oh, they're just trying to protect their own ass. Like, no, like people are capable of change. People are capable of growth. And to pretend that they're not, it like imagine like all the fucked up things like that we used to believe, we used to think, especially when we were too young to understand certain things, or to understand certain behaviors. And like I'm certainly a more empathetic person now than I was when I was in my teens. And if I was not able to grow from that, that would be a very sad life indeed. And the fact that we don't see that growth online, kids they're not learning about the growth of other humans. They're not learning about people learning from their mistakes. And, the best way that they learn it is by watching like Bluey or some shit. But when you go online, everybody assumes that's the real world and that's the way everything is. And you don't see it. There is a notable absence of growth online. And,
Yeah.
in the way that we treat other people and in the way that we treat them as characters, and how, and a lot of that, I know that a lot of that stems from the fact that a lot of creators try to hide their flaws, hide their mistakes. And
Well, that's out
the
of fear.
Yeah, it is,
I
and
mean,
right, and
and
but
out of fear of losing their livelihood. I mean, it's
yeah,
like in my situation, a lot of people didn't defend me despite knowing everything,
yeah, yeah,
everything, and it's like it's because they were all afraid of just having the eye of Sauron on them, and
right,
that was it, because they were
yeah,
like, "Doesn't matter, like, throw Polly under the bus, because if I lose my followers, I'm to them, they're not a person anymore."
yeah,
But I also wanted to say, like you were saying, like, um that, like, culturally, the internet, like, has been, not growing, and I think partially, again, that's because it's like ChatGPT. It's like people on the internet can find a place that validates their maladaptive or bad behaviors.
yes,
And they can find that place. I mean, that's why we have incels. That's why we have that sort of situation, you know?
mhm,
People can find a place where they are validated and where people will be unhealthy together and just create a maelstrom of unhealthiness.
yeah,
And I think that's again why we are where we are, because instead of growing, they're not going and seeing people face to face. They're not talking to people. They're not out of their comfort zone. They're not talking to other cultures. They're not talking to other genders.
mhm,
They're just insular in these groups that validate their hatred.
yeah, yeah,
And it's terrible.
yeah, and that's exactly true, and the like, people treat these, like, fleeting moments of interactions with, influencers or other people online. They only get to see a brief cross section of who these people are, and it almost encourages brevity. It encourages a lack of a more in-depth understanding of each other as people because, like, 1, we don't have the time, and 2, we don't we're standoffish online, and I think that when there's that missing, when that communication is missing, people fill in those gaps with what they want to believe. They fill in those gaps with, what little they know, and it just ends up becoming this, like, blanket understanding of what each person is, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, we don't wanna share everything about ourselves online. That would be unhealthy in another way, but I think that it would be good for everyone if we could see the growth and progress in other
Oh, for
humans
sure.
and that we could see their flaws and things.
Well, and, like, in stories, that's why we have stories of redemption,
Yeah, yeah.
And, like, this is 'cause I'm biased, I've been watching it a bunch, but, like, it's like K-pop Demon Hunter,
Mm,
which I really enjoyed, and I really liked it, but it's like the whole point of that movie is that we make mistakes, and
yeah,
that we hide things about ourselves, and that we don't always do the right thing at the time, but we can learn and grow and apologize and be there for each other in the end,
yeah.
and that growth is what makes us beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that, when we're trying to sell ourselves as a product, we ignore those flaws. It's like
Yeah.
it's why, uh, like, Sherlock Holmes is addicted to drugs, you know? That there are like, it's important for these, like, bigger than life characters to also have flaws. And it's important to see that and to be able it's encouraging to know that even those we look up to also have made mistakes, you know? And
Yeah.
it's not healthy to pretend like they haven't or that we haven't, you know? And,
Yeah.
um, so I kinda want to close with this about the fact that some netizens will express, like, a need to lash out at individuals, because of perceived transgression against creators they like, and this is classic problematic parasocial behavior. Creators don't need you to fight their battles for them. They can and should deal with their personal problems personally. And if an influencer wants their audience to put someone through hell for them, then that influencer's own morals should be reexamined.
God, that's so bad. It's
Yeah,
just like
it's awful, but, and And really, you should reconsider whether you really want to be influenced by somebody who behaves in such a vindictive way.
God, it's just like, yeah. I mean, it's just like, look at the president, most
Mhm.
vindictive person I've like ever seen on the public stage.
Yeah.
So, it's so not okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why we need to keep reminding ourselves that this kind of thing is not normal.
No, and
And
feeling that the feeling of vindictiveness, like every human has felt it, every
Mhm.
single human,
Yes.
and identifying that and being like, this is not a good feeling. I do not want this feeling.
Yeah.
And working on not being that way is so, and having self reflection and looking at yourself and forgiving people makes you a bigger person and a better
Yeah.
person and a more healthy person and a happier person.
Yes, the happier part too, like that you
Anyone who
feel
is
better.
Right. Anyone who is vindictive and wishes the downfall of someone else is not healthy or happy.
No, they're miserable in their own lives.
Exactly. And that's why when I see people being so vitriolic online, it's like I know why.
It comes from a place of pain.
Yeah,
A lot of
absolutely.
times it does.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, any closing thoughts?
Oh man. I don't know. I mean,
Just be fucking
yeah.
nice to each other, people. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah. I mean, and I don't know. I loved what I did. It really brought a lot of joy to my life, but like the biggest joy from it was feeling like I helped
Yeah,
people feel seen and help people feel, like, less alone,
yeah,
and I think that's, like I just said a second ago, that's why a lot of people find really terrible communities and
right.
really terrible places that encourage them to be unhealthy, but, like, if the people that followed me, I tried to tell them that they were good and that they were loved and that they deserved to have a good life, and I would try so hard to help them feel just seen, and it was a lot of, like, young queer people that
Yes.
I loved it. I loved what I did. I'm, like, getting sad. I
Yeah.
really did. I really did love what I did, and I'm not faking it. I'm not I promise. I don't have to preface it with that, but I really loved it, and I'm thankful that I can do that again as a therapist. Like, I'm working on trying to get, like, all my stuff, it'll be another 3 years.
Right.
2 and a half, uh, because I really loved helping people and helping people feel less alone because that's what I wish I had. I wish I'd had that when I was young because I
Yeah.
wasn't seen.
Right.
Like, I spent it alone, and I spent it, like, reading D&D books and just being a nerd, and, like, I was happy that there were other people out there like me too. So, I just hope that I just want everyone to be doing okay because things are hard right now,
Yeah.
and it's like, where do we all we can do is build community, And, like, I feel like the only future that we have that's positive is building in-person community and trying to stay positive and trying to help each other because it's just there's a lot of negativity that has been bred from these online spaces, and I saw it firsthand, I saw it happen, and I saw people who were kind being so angry, and I don't know. I mean, and that's another thing is, like, this is, like, weird, but I'm thankful that it happened to me. I
Yeah.
am thankful that it happened to me because I don't think that I would have the perspective that I do now of what, of my own life and my own ability to help people and my own self-sabotaging that I was doing. Like, I was giving so much of myself to other people that did not deserve that part of me or deserve any help from me,
Yeah.
and now I have boundaries for that,
Right.
and
Right.
I don't give myself away freely anymore, and I think that's what a lot of traumatized kids who grew up traumatized, like, learning that is a hard lesson, and a lot of times you have to blow up your life to learn that lesson.
This was incredible.
Sorry, I told myself I wasn't gonna cry, but, like,
No,
you
this
know.
is I thank you. I
I didn't
I'm
want to. That's okay. Crying is good. Don't think that crying is good. It's good. Emotions are good.
yes, emotions are good.
I said
Yes.
thumbs up again.
Yes. It feels almost awkward doing my normal closing bit, but thank you all so much for listening. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, go say hi to the birds outside.
Oh, and listeners, I can vouch. She definitely loves birds. We've had multiple conversations where her chickens were distracting her.
Yeah,
That's
my
it's
chicken's in the basement right now. One of my other chickens was bullying her, and now she has to. It's a long thing. Yeah,
chickens have feelings too.
they do. They're very sensitive.
Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye, everybody.